Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Ace High Outdoors. I'm your host, Ben, a licensed nade-trained gunsmith. So, what I'm going to be talking about today is reloading dead in 2026? Well, that's the question we're going to answer. I would say reloading is very much not dead in 2026. If anything, it's actually growing at 5 to 6% a year right now, and the market is actually growing more than ever, with more people getting into hunting and shooting sports than ever have before. Around 2020 and the COVID times or what have you, reloading became extremely popular. The components and stuff like that were like hen's teeth. A lot of the people that were making the components stopped making them or made less of them, and people were doing a lot of stuff like hoarding a lot of components. It just became super popular, as well with the increased cost of ammunition. People wanted to save a little bit of money. Of course, with people spending less time outside and socializing, they wanted to have a little bit of a hobby, and that's where reloading kind of took off. So now in 2026, we have all the people that were reloading since 2020 who were more new gun owners, people getting into it for the first time, and the segment since then has continued to grow. Retailers like Bass Pro, for example, are going to have a lot of different reloading components, different stuff that you're going to need. There's quite a lot of equipment associated with reloading, depending on how deep down the rabbit hole you want to get. So with that being said, how much can you save if you're reloading your own ammo? So if you have your own brass, you buy your own primers, you load everything like your powder and stuff like that, you could be spending 30 to 40% of what you would be on factory ammunition. So it is definitely some cost savings there. Of course, depending if you're using something like a more basic single stage press. So then you're going to have your progressive presses. So the progressive presses are going to basically do a motion per each pull of the handle. It's going to do like 4 or 5 different things. So it'll prime it on one. You put the powder in, for example, depending on what kind of press it is. The projectile it can put in there, and then seat the projectile and crimp it. So depending on what kind of press you're using, there's just a bunch of different stuff to look into. Of course, you can reload shotgun yourself as well. The only thing people typically don't reload is rimfire ammunition. It is technically possible using things like Primal, but it's just really not worth the while, considering how cheap 22 ammunition is. Some people do it for things like more oddball calibers, such as 32 rimfire, stuff that's like antique ammunition, things like that. But with that being said, if you guys are enjoying this episode so far, I'm going to be teaching a course March 14th on reloading, which is going to be at the Bass Pro Shops in Tawasin. There's going to be a morning, afternoon, and kind of like a late afternoon course that's going to run till 5:30. They're 2 hours each, and that's going to be running with Heritage Outdoors. So I'm happy to be partnering with them and doing some courses and teaching through them. If anyone who's watching these videos wants to have more of an in-depth 2-hour hands-on course where they actually learn from me on how to reload themselves safely, we're going to be reloading with sand, so it's super safe for anybody out there who's just looking to get their feet wet and maybe understand what you need to purchase, what you need to use, all those other things. So again, big shout out to Heritage Outdoor School. Super happy to be working with them. So in terms of like a price point, you can get older used single stage presses for $50 to $60. That is what I've been using on things like reloading antique ammunition. If you've watched some of my other videos, I reload all my own ammunition using black powder Trail Boss. So that's how I do that there. Yeah, it's a little bit of an art, of course. Like, you have to kind of learn it. You're gonna, of course, probably waste a couple cases, waste a couple primers, waste a couple projectiles just dialing in how to actually do it, but once you do it, you're going to feel super fulfilled being able to create more accurate ammunition than factory ammunition, super consistent stuff that you know you've made yourself. Things like your cartridge case lengths, depending on what manufacturer it's made by, they're all kind of within a SAMI spec, but some may be a little bit longer, some may be a little bit shorter, depending on what kind of gun you have. And the chamber of that, depending on if it's a straight wall case or a bottleneck case, basically that's going to have effect on your accuracy. And even in things like, for example, going back to the antique handguns, in terms of even the diameter of the barrel on some of these antique handguns, you could have 2 to 3 thousandths of difference between when it was manufactured. Say if one was made in like 1878 and another one was made in like 1884. Just the tooling, the person who put it together, it was all handmade, and all those little differences. So you want to measure correctly what the diameter of the barrel is and match that to the diameter of the lead that you're planning to shoot. And that is going to give you, of course, the most accuracy. And that includes also not putting too large of lead in your revolver or something like that, and adding extra stress on stuff like your rifling, forcing cone, other stuff like that. So again, if you thought that was interesting, I can't get into too much of the specifics on YouTube without being demonetized or risking a channel strike, but I would love to see you guys there on Saturday, March 14th. And I'm going to have the courses listed here with the times and also a QR code. So if any of you guys would like to sign up, you can. If you'd like to purchase some of our merch, we have that located in the comment section below. We will have a pinned comment with a link. And of course, that all goes back into making the channel what it is right now. Super stoked for things to come. And thanks guys for sticking with me for another episode of ASI Outdoors.